Okay, so another name for quadratic function is called a parabola. You might have heard this name, or people may call parabolic function. Okay, they are same thing. Okay, depending on the context, depending on the teacher, some people sometimes I say quadratic function. Sometimes I will say parabolic function. They are same thing. Okay. And it has the U shape. Now, in relation to the X and Y axis, so here is the X axis, right? This is the X axis. And here's the Y axis. When you graph quadratic function, there are places, a location where parabola hits X and Y axis. Okay. So when it hits, hang on a second. When it hits the x-axis, in this graph, there are two locations, right? Right here, 1 and 2. Those two locations are called x-intercepts. And we will talk about them more. But I would like you to just write it down, the naming, right? It's very important that you know the vocab so that we can communicate. When I say find x-intercept, find y-intercept, you can have the picture in your mind. Okay, I'm looking for the location where the parabola hits x-axis. Those are called x-intercepts. Okay? And then if the graph hits, or when I should say, it hits the y-axis, it's called y-intercept. Okay. And we are going, basically the main goal for this unit is that you be able to find those critical locations, x-intercepts, y-intercept, and the next one is, it's called vertex right here. It's the very bottom, or if it's upside down, it's a very top of the parabola. If the parabola could be upside down too, okay, and that will be, this location is vertex, okay, and we need to be able to find that, okay. And then lastly, this halfway point, the line or imaginary dot, the vertical line that will split right in half of the parabola, it is called axis of symmetry. Okay. So essentially, for next 2 weeks, our goal is to find those locations: x-intercepts, y-intercept, vertex, axis of symmetry. Okay. And so I would like you to write this down, this overall picture. This is our goal for this whole unit. Okay. So please write this down in your notes. Again, it's called quadratic function, or some people will call parabolic function. Again, they are same thing, synonymous. Um, Now, as you write, I just want you to listen to this. There are lots and lots of applications for quadratic function. Any projectile. Have you guys, I don't know if you have taken physics class. Have you dealt with a like a projectile shooting a cannonball or something, and then you're trying to figure out the highest point of the cannonball? When does the cannonball hit the ground? That type of a question. Anything that has a free fall projectile that doesn't have an internal force uh, that will move towards different directions. If it's like if you jump, if you do, does anybody do long jump? That's your path when you, once you hit the into the hit the ground and jump into the air, you are now going through the parabolic path. Okay. Has anybody watered the garden with a hose? The water that comes out of the hose, it creates like a U shape, right? Out upside down. That's a parabola. If a grasshopper jumps, that's a parabola. Okay. Any type of, or if you throw a baseball, once the baseball leaves your hand, or the volleyball, when you, once you hit the volleyball and leaves out of your hand, that goes through the projectile, the path of parabolic function or quadratic function. Okay. And so there are lots of applications for that. And you might have dealt with some of those questions in maybe physics. But anyway, we will try to deal with some of the questions, story problems. But first, we are going to, so can we guys move on? So 2.1, here it is. What we're going to do first is we're going to work on factoring. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today. Factoring trinomial. Now, why is that? Well, I just said we are going to look for, we're going to learn to find x-intercept, y-intercept, vertex, right? But factoring actually is one of the method of finding x-intercept. So we will try to make the connection. But right now, we're going to forget about x-intercept, y-intercept, vertex, okay? We're just going to focus on factoring skill, okay? You guys okay? These are examples, yeah. And assignments are coming up later. But let's practice, learn how to do this, okay? Now, when you've learned factoring in Algebra 1, you might have learned, have you guys remember, do you guys remember like a diamond method? I don't even know exactly. I haven't done this for a long time because I don't teach diamond method. Do you guys remember this diamond method? We're not going to do that. I'm going to teach you a different method. I hope you find this new method a little bit easier, okay? It doesn't mean that you have to use my method. You can use whatever the method you know. But let me teach you the method that I've learned. And I think it's a little bit more efficient and easier that way. Okay, so bear with me and take good notes of it. Yeah. So again, we're not going to do the diamond method. You might have forgotten about it. But let me show you what it is, okay, of the method, different method, okay. Before we do the factoring, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to distribute, okay. Now here we've got x plus 2 times x plus 3. let's distribute that. We're going to FOIL it. Okay. First, we distribute x times x. That's x squared. Okay. And then you do x times 3. That's 3x. Now we're going to do the inside 2 times x. That's 2x. And then 2 times 3. That's 6. Are you guys with me so far? Now the middle 2 terms, they are like terms, so you can add them up, right? So what is the final answer? X squared plus 3x plus 2x is 5x plus 6. Okay. Now, why did we do that? This is not factoring, by the way. This is actually the opposite of factoring, which is distributing. Okay. Now, our goal is to go from this and get back to these 2 parentheses. That is called a factoring. It's the exact opposite process of distributing 2 parentheses. Are you guys with me? Yeah? So, here's the first question. Here I've got x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, it's the same thing right here, isn't it? Same thing as what we just distributed. And I would like you to put this back into the parentheses. Now, we know that the answer is going to be x plus 2 and x plus 3, right? But that's the answer. But we're going to sort of backtrace how we've gotten x squared plus 5x plus 6 and try to figure out the rules. So our goal right now, the purpose of this exercise is for you to see what is happening in factoring process, okay? So the first step, okay, is of factoring, okay, is to just take a look at the first term, x squared. First step. Let's write it down. First step is to take a look at x squared and ask yourself, how do I get x squared? Now, how did you get this x squared, by the way? Isn't x squared coming from this x times x? Isn't that how you got x squared? Right? So to immediately, you can fill in. Now, there are 4 spots to fill in for reversing the FOIL, reversing the distributive property. And you can immediately fill in the first 2 spots. This has to be x and x. There's no other possibility of getting x squared, but it has to be that x and x right there. Are you following this? Next step, we are actually going to skip this 5x because 5x is coming from these 2 terms, isn't it? 5x came from adding 3x plus 2x, but we're just going to forget about that for now, okay? But second step is to look at the last number, which is positive 6. Now, how did you get positive 6? You got positive 6 by right here. This 2 times 3, isn't it? Isn't that how you got 6? In other words, you are going to look for a number that will multiply to two numbers that will multiply to 6. Can you think of a combination that will multiply to 6? Definitely 2 times 3, right? 2 times 3 is 6. But what else though? There's another one. Yes, very good. It's 1 and 6, right? So that means that there are 2 possible candidates for those 2 spots. So let's say, even though we know that it's going to be incorrect, let's say your first guess is 1 and 6, right? Now, how do we know that 1 and 6 is right or wrong? This is how you do this, okay? You are going to do inside and outside. It's like a halfway donut shape, okay? You're going to do the donut shape inside and outside and multiply and add them up. Now 1x and 6x. Now, if you add them up together, will you get 5x? Well, you get 7x, right? Now, if you have this 1x be negative, it will become 5x if you add them up. But then negative 1 times positive 6, it's not going to get you positive 6. It has to, both of them has to be positive. So 1x and 6x will not get you 5x. So 1 and 6 is not going to work out. Does that make sense? I know it may seem a little bit complicated, but we are going to practice a couple more times. So please give yourself a little bit time to absorb and get used to. Okay. So let's not go for 1 and 6, but let's see 2 and 3. More you do this, it gets easier and easier. Okay. So what if 2 and 3? Well, it's 2x and 3x. Now, if you add them, will you get the middle term, 5x? And it does, right? So you just factored it. It's x plus 2 times x plus 3. Yeah. You guys with me? What do you guys think? Let's do another one. Then let me hear from you, okay? Can I scoot up the page? Confusing? Yeah. Any first reaction? Okay, let's try another one. Okay. So again, our goal is to put that expression, x squared plus 3x minus 40, back into the other parentheses before you distributed it. State. Are you guys ready to move on for the second one? Are you guys ready? So here it is, okay? What's the first step? What did I say? Let's try to remember the step here. The first step is to account for this x squared. How do you get x squared? There's only one possibility. It has to be this x and x. That's it. So you've already filled 2 spots in, okay? Next step. What's the next step? What did I say? We're going to skip the middle term, 3x, but we're going to examine this negative 40, okay? And you're going to ask yourself, what times what gives me negative 40? Now, there are lots of combinations, okay? Let's list them out, yeah? Now, I'm going to just disregard the sign for now. It's 2 times 20, right? One of them being negative. What else? 220. How about 5, 8? How about 4, 4, 10? What else? Guess that's it, right? And then 40 times 1. Yeah, definitely. 1 times 40. Now, there are 4 possibilities, right? One of them being negative, though. Okay. Now, which one are we going to use? There's a rule of thumb, okay? And that is you always want to try the combination numbers that are kind of close by, close to each other. You don't want to use the numbers that are far apart, like 1 and 40. That should be the last one to try, okay? But we are going to try this 5 and 8 first, because 5 and 8 are closer together than 4 and 10 or 2 and 20. They are really far apart, isn't it? So we're going to use a 5 and 8. So just mentally, or just with a thin line with a pencil, let's just write down 5 and 8, because it could be wrong too, okay? It could be the other possible. But what you're going to do next is we're going to do the donut shape, right? We're going to do inside and outside. And the sum, addition, should be 3x. Now 5 times x is 5x. X times 8 is 8x. Can we create 3x, positive 3x, by adding 5x and 8x? Now, if both of them are positive, definitely no, right? That's right, Gentry. But if we make one of them negative, can we make 5x plus 8x, 5 and 8, adding together to make it into positive 3x? Yeah. How do we do that? If we make this 5x as a negative 5x, and then 8x as a positive 8x, isn't that 3x? 8x plus negative 5x, isn't that positive 3x? Yeah, right? And so that's it. That means that this, to make a negative 5x, this 5 has to be negative. And to make it into positive 8x, this a has to be positive. And then that will work. Okay? Now just to double check, x times x is x squared. Negative 5 times 8 is, this is x squared. This is negative 40. And then negative 5x plus 8x is positive 3x. So it fits. Yeah. So it's x minus 5, x plus 8. Still confusing? What do you think? Are you kind of getting the hang of it? So this is the second try. Let's try another one. You guys ready for the next one? And this one is a little bit different now because there is that 2 in front of x squared, but the process is still the same. Okay, you guys ready? All right, the first step. The first step is to take a look at the first term, 2x squared. How do you get 2x squared? Isn't it 2x times x? Isn't that the only way of getting 2x squared? When you distribute, it's 2x times x. Then you get 2x squared. I mean, you could write x times 2x. That will be okay too. But let's write down 2x and x, okay? Next step. We're going to skip the negative 11x. But we're going to take a look at this positive 12, okay? And what are you going to ask yourself? What times what gives 12, okay? Because this number times this number should give you 12, positive 12, okay? So let's think about this. What times what gives 12? Let's list them out. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4, right? That's okay. And which one are we going to try first? We are always, you want to try the numbers that are close together. So let's try 3 and 4. So I'm just going to put 3, 4 like that, okay? Now I'm going to do the donut shape. That's a 3x. 2x times 4 is 8x. Now, can we create negative 11? Negative 11 by adding 3x and 8x. Yeah, if 3x is a negative 3x, 8x is a negative 8x, isn't it 11, negative 11x if you add them together, right? That means 3 has to be negative and 4 has to be negative. And that makes sense because let's double check, okay? So we have to do this, okay? The last step is just to double check. Does 2x times x. Do you get that 2x squared? Yeah, you get 2x squared. Does negative 3 times negative 4, do you get positive 12? Yes, it's positive. Negative times negative is a positive 12. So that's it. So you just factor it as 2x minus 3, x minus 4. So how are you feeling now? Are you still confused? Give me your initial honest reaction so far. How do you feel? Parker has a very good question, okay? Now Parker is suggesting, can we do x plus 1, x minus 12? That is a very good question because if you do the donuts, wait a second. Oh, okay. No, 1 and 12 does not work because if you do, that's right. Yeah, you would not get positive 12. And also you get 1x, right? But then if you do 2x times negative 12, what would that be? That's negative 24x, isn't it? You're creating now big negative number, 24x. And if you add them, you're going to get like a negative 23x. But you want is the negative 11, isn't it? Yeah, it's a very good question. Yeah, still confused? Yeah. I know it's not very comfortable feeling here, but there's only one way to get to feel comfortable, and that is a little more experience. Okay, so just bear with me. Okay, give yourself a little more time. Okay, so why don't you try this all by yourself? Next one, just go as far as you can. X squared minus 7x plus 10. How do you factor that? How are you doing so far? Any questions? Okay, it's been about a minute, so I'm gonna get started on this. So you put parentheses. At least, did you write that? And then those big two parentheses. The first step is to take a look at x squared. Just ask yourself, how do I get x squared? By distributing. And there's only one possibility. It has to be x and x. When you FOIL, when you distribute, x times x will get you x squared. Okay. Next step, you're going to skip the middle term, but look at this positive 10. You're going to ask yourself, what times what gives positive 10? There are two possibilities, 1 times 10 and 2 times 5. Yeah? No decimals. Factoring will not use rational number, fractions, decimals. Okay, just a whole number, integers. So 2 times 5. So which one are you going to try first? You always want to try the numbers that are close together. So you don't want to do 1 and 10 first. You want to try 2 and 5. So I'm just going to put 2 and 5. Yeah. So, and then we're going to do donut shape to confirm, right? That's 2x, and then you get 5x. Can we create negative 7x by adding 2 and 5? You can you not? How do you get negative 7x when you add them together? You're always going to add 2 middle terms to get to the middle negative 7x. If 2x is negative 2x and a 5x is negative 5x, then if you add them, don't you get negative 7x? That means this has to be negative and 5 has to be negative as well. And just to double check, you don't have to write this, but does x times x, you get x squared? Negative 2 times negative 5, do you get positive 10? Yeah. And then the middle term and the outside term, you get negative 7x. So it fits. Were you able to do that all by yourself? How are you feeling, Miranda? Were you able to do that? Let's try another one. This is the last one as a practice, okay? And then we'll do the assignment. Yeah, a little getting better. And I'll give you a minute to work on it. Okay, so let's get started. The first step is to examine 3x squared and ask yourself how you get 3x squared by distributing. And again, it is a odd number or I should say prime number. 3 is a prime number. So there's only one possibility, and that is it has to be 3x and x. Is that what you have? Okay. Next step is to take a look at negative 20. What times y is 20? Did we do 20 before? No, that was 40. And how do we get 20? 2 times 10, 4 times 5. That's it, I guess. And then 1 times 20. So which one are we going to try? I'm going to try 4 and 5, okay, because 4 and 5 are close together. So I'm going to put just 4 and 5. But it has to be, one of them has to be negative though, okay? So we're going to do the donuts. 4x. And then 3x times 5 is 15x. Now, 4x and 15x by adding or maybe subtracting, because one of them has to be negative. Can you create 7x out of that, 4 and 15? And the answer is no, it's impossible. By adding them, you get 19, right? 15 plus 4, that's 19. If you subtract 15 minus 4 is 11. Either way, you will not get 7x. Now, does that mean that we should give up on 4 and 5? And actually, what do you guys think? Yeah, we should not give up on this 4 and 5, because the other way is we could just switch this 4 and 5 and then we try the donuts again. So what I mean by that is I'm going to put 5 and 4 and then we're going to do the donuts. Let's try. You get 5x, and that's 12x. Can you create 7x by adding them, 5x and 12x? And you can. If 5x is a negative 5x and 12x is a positive 12x, then if you add them, wouldn't you get 7x? Right? And so that's it. So we found the combination. It's negative 5 and positive 4. Again, just to double check, 3x times x is 3x squared. Negative 5 times 4 is negative 20. So it fits. Okay, everything fits. Were you able to do that? How did it go? Now, let me remind you. I don't know if you guys remember. I have to look it up how to do the diamond method, but all I know is that if you are going to use the diamond method, you have to do 3 times negative 20. That's negative 60. And then you have to write down the middle term. I don't know. That's like negative, like a 7x over here. And then you have to figure out, it is not going to be, I don't know. I mean, if you know the diamond method and if it works, you're more than welcome to do that. But I don't know. Left and right. They must add up to the bottom. Multiply to make up to the top. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's kind of like doing the same thing, but now you're dealing with a negative 60, right? And that's a lots and lots of combinations. Right? Oh, okay. Maybe I'm gonna look it up on Diamond Method. But I mean, this is how I learned. I mean, I'm not trying to force you into my method, right? But I think I've learned all kinds of different methods, and I think this, once you get used to it, you might find this probably the most efficient way of doing this. But anyway, let's do the assignment here, guys. Now we only have about 25 minutes or so. You know what? Let's just do half of it. So let's just do the odd number, okay? And then we'll do the even number some other time, okay? So I want you to work on 7 problems. Let's do that, okay? So this is homework 2.1, okay? You guys all ready? You don't need to write down the instruction. Okay, don't write that. Let's jump right into number 1. So you tell me how to go, how we go. You make the first move. What do you do first? Got x squared, and the only possibility has to be x and x. Now the diamond method, the top is you have to multiply the first number and the last number. I think that's how you do so you get fairly large number. Anyway, let's keep going, okay? And then the next step is you look at the last number 7, and the 7 is a prime number. So there's only one possibility, right? What times do I give 7? It's 1 and 7. It's 1 times 7 is the only possibility. So I'm going to put 1 and 7. Okay. And then if you do the donuts, it's 1x and 7x. If you add them, will you get the middle term? You do, right? 7x plus 1x is 8x. So that's it. It's x plus 1, x plus 7. Again, you can just mentally, you don't have to write this down, but does x times x, do you get x squared? Yeah. Does 1 times 7, do you get 7? Yes, right? Everything fits. Okay. Okay, number 3. You try. I'll give you 1 minute. Okay. So what do you guys have? So first, yeah, it has to be 3x and x. You okay with that? Next, we're going to skip the middle. Look at the -5. -5 is the only possibility is 1 times 5, isn't it? Okay. Now, one of them has to be negative, though, okay, because you want to get -5. But I'm just kind of disregarding the sign right now. It's 1 times 5 is 5, right? So I'm going to put 1 and 5. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. So I'm going to do, well, you can kind of see that it's going to be the other way. Well, at least it's going to be the other way around, isn't it? So more you do this, I think you're going to start already thinking ahead. Okay, you're going to get 1x. You're going to get 15x, right? 3x times 5 is 15x. Now, how can you get -2? It's impossible, okay? So does that mean that 1 and 5 is wrong? No, we can switch around, okay? So instead of 1 and 5, I'm going to do 5 and 1. And you get 5x, you get 3x. How can we get -2x? Which one has to be negative? Is it 5x or 3x? 5x has to be negative, and the 3x has to be positive. Then when you add those two numbers, you get -2x. Yeah. So 5 has to be negative. 1 has to be positive. And that's it. Okay. Well, number 5. Are you kind of getting the hang of this? Number 5. Okay, it's been about a minute. Again, the first term is x squared, so that's going to be a little bit easier. It's going to be, has to be x and x. X1 is 9x. 9x is 3 times 3 or 1 times 9. Now, I can already see 3 and 3 is not going to work out because, do you see that? Because it's a 3x and 3x. Can you create negative 10x with a 3x and 3x by adding them? No, you can't. And by switching around, it's not going to make any difference. So 3 and 3 is not going to work out. So I'm going to do 1 and 9. Yeah. And that's going to be 1x. This is a 9x. Can I create negative 10x? How do we do that? How do we create negative 10? Both number has to be negative. Negative 1x plus negative 9x is not negative 10x. So both of them has to be negative number. And that works because negative 1, double check, negative 1 times negative 9. If you distribute, don't you get positive 9, right? And then x times x, you get x squared. And then negative 1x and negative 9x, you get negative 10x. So everything fits, right? Okay, 2 more to go. I know we've been working at it for a long time. Okay, just 2 more. Yeah, getting a little bit easier, I hope. Here's the last question, number 9. If you want to go ahead and then 2x and 6x, you get, what is it? 8x, very good. Yeah, nice job. That's it. Does anybody want to share your answer with me? Yeah, very good. Yeah, I mean, do you guys remember doing this in Algebra 1? I know it's been a while, what, 2 years ago, right? So, yeah, maybe some of you have, depending on the school that you went to, some schools do focus a little bit differently. But again, let's get started. So first term is 3x squared. How do you get that? It's gotta be 3x and x. The middle term is coming from the sum. It's coming from the donuts. So we're going to skip that. But we're going to look at the last number 4. What times what gives 4? And that's how you get 4, right? What times what gives you 4? Well, you've got 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. We're going to try the numbers that are close together first. Okay. So I'm gonna put 2 and 2. Then 2x, that's a 6x. And when I add them, I want to get negative 8x. Can you get negative 8x by adding 2x and 6x? Yes, if what? If 2x is negative 2x and 6x is negative 6x, then if you add them up, you get negative 8x. Right? That means both are negative. And that makes sense because negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. So it fits. So your final answer is, that, right? That is your final answer. All right. Thank you, Francisco. Nice job. How about number 9? Last question, guys, and we'll be done. All right. Some of you already figured it out. Immediately when you look at x squared, you know that it's going to be x and x. So you can just as well write it down. The next step is to look up 40. Now 40 does have a lot of combinations. Yeah, 1 times 40. You don't even need to list them out, but 2 times 20, 4 times 10. What else? 5 times 8. Okay. And we're going to try 5 and 8 first. Okay. The numbers that are close together. And maybe some of you are already thinking, yeah, 5 and 8 works. Because, why? That's 5x. That's 8x. Can you create negative 13? Yeah, right? If both of them are negative, and if you add them together, you get negative 13x. So the answer will be x minus 5, x minus 8. You can write x minus 8, x minus 5. They are the same thing. How do you guys feel? Easy? Oh, actually, there was one. Whoa, there were 2 more. Okay, what time do we get out? I thought that was the last question. 9:40. Do you guys want to try one more time? Can we do one more time? Let's do the number 13. Let's skip number 11. Yeah. And then we'll be done. If you can do number 13, think you've got it. If you come out unsuccessful, still, I hope you kind of got the outline of your thinking process. Okay, what do I need to do first? let's try to establish that at least before you leave today. We'll practice more. Yeah, definitely. You can do number 11 as well. Okay, very good, Mia. Sounds like you've already got it. Everybody, don't look at the answer in the chat. Just try all by yourself first. Okay, don't look at it. This one definitely has to be 2x and x to account for this 2x squared, right? Because if you distribute 2x times x is 2x squared, right? And that is the only possibility. Next, you're going to skip the middle, but look at the last term too. You're going to ask yourself what? What times what is 2? There's only one possibility. It's 1 times 2. So I'm just going to put 1 and 2. Maybe it could be 2 and 1, okay? But I'm just going to put 1 and 2. And then I will do the donuts, right? It's 1x, 4x. Now, can I create by adding them 5x? Yes, you can, right? 1x plus 4x is 5x. So here it is. Plus 1, plus 2. How do you guys feel now compared to the beginning of the class about 60 minutes ago? Are you feeling a little bit better, confident? Or are you still confused? Tell me your honest feeling, your candid feedback for me. You've got it? Still confused? Yeah, very good. Anybody else? Are they feeling not too confident? I guess, okay. Um, we are almost out of the time, but we still have about 5 minutes in class. You're definitely welcome to stay and ask me more questions, but we will definitely review this more. um, you are done with today's assignment. You don't need to do the even numbers. I'm going to use the even numbers as more of a review for later, okay? Or warm-up questions for tomorrow. So please make sure that you turn this in, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Okay. Thank you, guys. Take care.